We all gonna die.
Back! It's We All Gonna Die Wednesday!
Make some noise,
You have
Cleveland.
arrived. You have arrived. You are in the right place. This
The right
is where
time.
it happens.
All that.
Hudson Valley
One.
prepping and
The
survival.
only.
We All Gonna Die Wednesday.
The real one.
How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing? We got a special guest gonna join us this evening. As always, he is fashionably late as usual. But that's just how he rolls.
We got some ideas in the chat about who
Yeah.
the mystery guest could possibly be. I wonder. On a We All Gonna Die Wednesday.
Kirsty Garner says it's going to be Old Mutt. No, not yet. Not yet. Old Mutt. Old Mutt's Creature of the Dark. Creature of the Dark.
I don't know any of these people. You guys.
Canadian said, we all gonna die Wednesday. That's right.
We're doing this from the StreamYard, so
yeah, things are a little different.
Tonight. I don't have all my cool super graphical capabilities, but I can.
You do get the cool.
I can put them on blast. Okay,
that's right.
That's right. They can't take.
Is it Hunter's laptop? No.
We got options. Okay.
Welcome to Wonderful Positive Wednesday. That's it. It's wonderful and positive. We're going to be nothing but positivity today.
It's got me all excited. I popped my reserve beer before I popped. See, I caught hate last night. You drink this beer for. Yeah, so I got a Heineken.
You went out and bought a Heineken.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I can't eat for 3 days.
The Grim Reaper.
I got the Heineken. Okay?
Briar Rose, I hope not, but it is We All Gonna Die Wednesday. So you never know. You never know. I don't know who these guys are, Outlaw. No clue. Johnny Preps, what's happening, my friend? MS Sharon, how are you? Loving life. East Tennessee preparedness in the house. Coffee first, then speak. How are you? How are you? How are you? Tracy Mickle, what's going on? My mother's Spark in the house. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having an absolutely wonderful Wednesday. Wonderful Wednesday. So
that's up for debate at this point.
Livingston,
Michael?
Man, there are some things going on in the world today. Some big things.
We've got some things going on.
Yeah, and we have to
not least of which
we have to discuss them.
The absolute overreach and violation of the entire Bill of Rights. They're the constant is shredded. They want to take my gas stove from me.
Yes.
They can have my fucking guns before they can have my fucking gas stove. Come and take it.
Oh man. No, they can't have any of it. They can't have any of it. None of it. But yeah, man. Yeah, there is a Livingston Man is just fired up about this gas potential gas stove ban.
I only just got one 3 years ago, and I really like it. And they're like, you can't have that because it's bad for you. This is like when they tried to ban menthols for some ridiculous reason.
Yeah, that's when the riots start.
Your health is unhealthy for you.
Hunter says it ain't going to happen. It's a setup for attacks. Absolutely could be. Absolutely.
He's right. I saw you on Facebook with that, and I wholeheartily agree. They're going to make you pay your carbon tax. They're going to start charging, measuring your footprint and charging you.
Yeah,
because if you burn money, it fixes the ozone layer.
Yeah, very, very true.
Trust the science, guys.
Without any,
if you're not typing in all caps, I am not even paying attention to you.
I would like to introduce our
ladies and gentlemen, our secret guest.
Yeah, our guest for the evening.
I'm so excited.
We All Gonna Die Wednesday.
We all gonna die.
The only NY
Who did you think it was gonna be
tonight? Greg, what's happening, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you guys?
No audio on Greg. None yet. Let's see.
His mic is not muted. Well, on our end.
No, it should be open on our end.
Hold on, I know what's going on.
Can you hear me or no?
I can hear you now.
There you are, Greg. Welcome, welcome, welcome to We All Go Down Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I saw a video update that you did earlier, and it seems like some big things are going down tonight in today or yesterday, I guess, as the sun flies. Over in Russia, it looks like they may have let's say, how do you say it? They're pulling a punch here. You know what I mean? They're showing their hand before they make a crazy big move.
Okay.
That's kind of the way it seems to me, is that they've honestly, with this decision that they've made, that they're showing their hand, that I think you said that something big is going to go down over in that neck of the woods here real soon.
So you're saying that they're doing it on purpose, basically, to like.
No, I don't know that they're doing it on purpose, but I think them doing it is definitely a tell that they're about to make a big, big move, because, you know, like you said, you don't put somebody like that in charge of just a special operation.
Exactly. Yes, that's
So,
huge. Yeah.
Why don't you tell the folks what exactly happened today, Greg? I know
Yes.
you pay closer attention to this than anybody, so inform the people, my friend.
Yeah. So basically, some huge news today that Poland is probably going to be the first country to give modern tanks to Ukraine. They're going to give them, latest I heard just an hour ago, 14 Leopard tanks, which, I mean, that's not a whole lot, but that's still a sizable amount. 14 modern battle tanks, and then also Britain is going to give them Challenger 2 tanks, which are, also a modern tank.
These are best in their class, like armored vehicles. These are main battle tanks. Like, so
Battle
the
tanks.
numbers sound small, 14. Yeah, fine. These things are incredible. You put those together in like a couple of little like groups, you have a serious advantage. These things can kill their Russian counterparts from before the Russians could return fire.
Yeah.
Yep. Their armor, the big difference too is their armor is much thicker than the Russian tanks. So the Russians could literally make direct hits on some of these tanks and it's not going to destroy the tank. Meanwhile,
shrug it off. Yeah.
They can shrug it off and just, return fire and destroy, so
incredible.
It's a huge sign that something, and then like you were saying with the general, Gerasimov he's been Putin's general for like, I think, I don't know, the last 10 or 15 years. And for him to take over, that's kind of a red flag because, it just, you don't send a top general to micromanage something unless you're about to do something big, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not an officer in the military, but, it's just common sense, it's like.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, man. And when you said that earlier, I was like, holy cow, he's absolutely right. This is a big move by them to, he's the equivalent of Mark Milley to us. Top brass.
Yep.
So for him to take over just a little special operation, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that would be like Mark Milley taking over, the Iraq War or Afghanistan. It's unheard of, like you don't do that for small contingencies, right? I mean, it's like, so.
Yeah, I got a little freaked out this morning with all the flights canceled. I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah.
And the hush lip about everything,
Yeah, they did some kind of, I think they did a nuclear war exercise last night. I'm going to do a video on that. I just checked some information right before I got on the stream. But last night there was a presidential doomsday plane in the air at the same time as there were multiple nuclear war planes and also aerial refuelers, and they were all over the place. So I think it had something to do with, like, it sounded like a nuclear war exercise. That's what I think.
Crazy, man. Every day it seems like we inch a little bit closer to the eve of destruction, right, Livingston, man?
Well, I think maybe it's more that this has been going on like kind of the whole time, like, behind the scenes under the radar, so to speak. But with new access to information, that if you know what to look for, you're able to see.
All these things actually going on.
Am I right, Greg? I mean, this is not something new. I mean, and
in
fact, like, then how often, like, do you like witness sort of like flights and patterns like this?
It's not I mean, the nuclear war planes, they're up in the air every day, at least one or two. But for them to have the doomsday plane and all of them in the air simultaneously with aerial refuelers is a red flag, because those planes are meant to loiter in the air for a long period of time. As you probably know, like the presidential doomsday plane can basically stay airborne for days at a time before having to land. So they need aerial refuelers to refuel the plane so the president can stay airborne, because obviously if he were to be somewhere on the ground, he could get killed by a missile or something. So they put him in the sky. And then same thing with the nuclear warplanes. They can remotely launch all of our ICBMs from those planes. So they have to be able to stay airborne too. So the fact that all of them were in the air at the same time with, the refuelers, and then plus, all this news about another big invasion coming. I don't think it's a coincidence that they decided to do this today, in my opinion. I think they're just it's like, it's like if you're getting ready for deer season, you go to the range, everybody goes to the range a week before and just double checks their scope, right? It's basically the same thing. They do it all the time, but probably out of an abundance of caution, they want to do it now just in case things get crazy. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah, I'm of the firm belief that we would be the last ones to know if something was going on or if there was a launch or anything like that. They're not going to tell us until the absolute last minute, if they tell us at all, because they don't want to incite that panic, especially in areas where things may not happen. It would be total chaos. We've seen that with the false alarms in Hawaii. They had that there. That's scary stuff, man, to get those kind of messages. That's really scary.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're I think they're downplaying the invasion now too. Like if it wasn't for Ukraine saying stuff, like the Ukrainian general said like 3 weeks ago that he expects a massive attack sometime soon and they're going to go for the capital again. And he said that he kind of like broke the whole story about it. And now finally the media is picking up. But if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even know, because like the media here in the West, they're just trying to make us think that everything is okay, until the last minute. You wake up one day and, oh my gosh, there's 1 million Russians invading Ukraine now, and then everybody runs to the store and buys all the toilet paper,
That's the way it goes, man. Panic mode. Jay Creature says, could you highlight that comment?
I don't think that Russia will be able to ever pull off anything like a surprise attack or some kind of fait accompli, what I mean, where we didn't see it coming on satellite. We knew they were amassing for an invasion before like their own troops did. So I discount any idea that Russia can do something that is unexpected at this point. I think Russia has proved itself to look like a punk, like a joke out here. Like they should have never tried this. And whatever like sense of pride they were following, their regime, not of course the Russian people, because I don't think they would be on board with this embarrassment that at least is being presented as. When this happened, I was like, well, that's it for Ukraine. Kiss that goodbye. Now, like we're going on a year later, and like, not looking good.
They're still kicking ass, though. They're still kicking ass.
What do you think are the prospects for the long term here? Because if this is the Russian bear, it needs to wake up or needs to go back to sleep.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's going to fracture Russian society for sure, because Russia now is not Russia during when was Stalingrad? 43 or 44?
Yeah,
something
1943,
like that.
Man, the year the world.
Yeah, it's not the same Russia 80 years ago, or where they could just, you have your leader and he would just tell you something and you would just believe it. Now people have the internet. A lot of Russians, especially in the cities, they wear like Yankees hats and like Western clothing, and they love technology. So they're going to figure out what's the truth, and many of them already have. And what's going to happen is there's going to be some kind of internal problems there, because you have young people, just starting out their life. And I mean, could you imagine being like 18, 19, 20 in Russia, and your country's going to war, and all your dreams are basically gone. Your country is sanctioned. All of the stores you loved shut down. rights being taken away. So I think there's going to be like some kind of internal problems. Also, their economy is going to crumble too at some point. And so I think they're going to have internal problems. But the war, I mean, the Russian war machine, you definitely can't underestimate it. I mean, they have a ton of equipment and they have a ton of natural resources. So if they want to keep this thing going, they can. So I think we're going to have a big invasion soon in the next couple of days or not days, but weeks, next couple of weeks, and the summer is going to be really intense. I have a feeling in the summertime, it's going to be pretty crazy, I think. And it might even eclipse what we saw in the initial invasion. That's what it's looking like. And everything
they're saving their best for last. I mean,
that's the way it seems.
This really Eastern style of warfare, like to the Western mind, doesn't make any sense. Like I feel like if it's the United States doing this, Ukraine would be something like a black hole delivered by like air power almost alone before like conventional forces even touched dirt. And here we see like where I'm like, they look like punks and they look like a joke out here, like, but hold back. But the question is why? Why hold back? Wear them down first. Ukraine's only been fortified and hardened further. Why now take the risk to throw your best weapons against an even harder shell?
Yeah.
Yep. I think honestly, I'm not a fan of Putin at all, but he's definitely not stupid. Most psychopaths are actually geniuses because they're so smart that they don't even have a conscience because they're too intelligent for their own good. I think his initial invasion was basically reconnaissance by force. He wanted to send in a sizable amount, but he didn't want to go all the way in the first time. He wanted to kind of see what would happen. It's like dipping your toes in before you jump in. He wanted to see what kind of resistance does he get? How is the West going to help Ukraine? What are the Ukrainians capable of? What are their air defenses like? Because Russia doesn't know what their air defenses are like, so they're not going to send in, hundreds of jets that are just going to get shot down. So now Russia has
the waters, so to speak.
Yeah, testing the waters and getting a more clear picture of what Ukraine's capabilities are and what the West is willing to do. That's what I think it was. I think it was just
cannon fodder, like a probing attack.
Exactly, a probing attack. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Man, just cannon fodder so far. That's a scary premise, man.
It's honestly, not a great.
Honestly, it really is.
Maybe unless they're like physically trying to reenact what they call the Great Patriotic War, where like at first they got their asses handed.
They are.
They got their
I feel
asses
they are
handed
too.
to them. They came back together, like they rallied together as a nation, as a people.
Yeah, and came back and conquered.
And like this whole make Russia great again like thing. I just wonder if it's not going to blow up in his face. Like I said, like I see no reason to let the enemy fortify himself, become enriched with enhanced, like high-tech Western weapons, and then throw the dice again and hope that my best stuff. This is Russia, okay? Their single aircraft carrier is like a coal rolling piece of crap.
Yeah, it gets towed around by tugboats all the time.
It can't even float or move under its own power. And they want to act hard. So I'm having a real problem understanding where they intend to go with this strategy.
I think the biggest deterrent for anybody messing with them, obviously, is they have the largest nuclear arsenal on planet Earth.
Because the rest of their machine worked so well. Imagine they're going to drop their own nukes on themselves, dude. They're just going to fall out of the sky all broke up and shit. It's like made in Russia. That sounds like made in China. It worked 30 years ago, bro.
It does seem like they are trying to reenact the Great Patriotic War. I think it was actually said, I think Michelle the Great was the one who brought it up, that they are trying to, the Great Patriotic War is back and they are going to fight for all things that were and will be again Russia. So,
of course, like when they were a superpower and like they weren't like something that got laughed at, like on live streams like this one by people like me.
Yeah, if you actually, a lot of the YouTube channels based in Russia, that's what they're saying. Like if you've ever watched Inside Russia, I don't know if you've ever seen that guy.
No.
check his channel, Inside Russia. His name's Konstantin. He's a Russian guy who left Russia, and he lives in Uzbekistan now, but he lived in America for like 20 years. And he kind of talks about everything. He's got a big channel now. It like exploded, but he basically said that this is like that he expects that this next mobilization is not going to be like the last one. It's going to be like framed as like a holy war, you know, like a patriotic war. And they're trying to, you know, so.
Well, they can definitely, I guess, at this point, if like given sufficient domestic support or manipulation, is to play the whole world is against us. It's, you know, the battle for existence, essentially.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Total annihilation
as any sovereign nation's right to exist is at stake here. Russia is like maybe increasingly trying to like be able to play that card. Look, you know, to show like the citizens of Russia, like, but look, as they surround us with military weapons and means.
Yeah, all of NATO.
But
right?
we flex one time and it's a big problem in a crisis.
It's
an interesting play.
It really feels like it's about to get a whole lot worse, you know, especially for the people in Ukraine. And that's ultimately who I sit with is the people on the ground who've had to, you know, their homes are gone. In some cases, entire towns and villages are flattened. And those are the people I stand with. And I hope the civilian death toll is extremely low. Hope
Never
it's
is.
zero, but you know, it's probably not going to be.
It never is. In war, it tends to exceed the military death toll.
Yeah. It's a sad truth. Do you see an end anywhere, Greg? Honestly, do you
How
see
does this play out? How does
this?
this end? Putin wants Ukraine to give up territory. Ukraine says never. How are we going to put an end to this?
Right. Yeah. There's either two options that either there's three options. I mean, either Ukraine cracks and Russia takes them over, or Russia cracks and completely disintegrates, you know, or we go to nuclear war. I mean, those are the only one of those three, you know.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. But
none of them really good outcomes for the world as a whole.
Right. Neither, none of them. I mean, the best, I guess, would be Russia cracking, but if that happens, then you know, you got 6,000 nukes that are, you know, who's gonna
the Chinese takeover.
Yeah, Chinese
takeover, in the hands of
or
oligarchs, or who knows what. Like this was a big deal at the end of the Cold War.
Is that what they traded the yachts for?
Probably. All of a sudden, like places like Ukraine, all of a sudden was blessed with nuclear weapons because the USSR broke up. Like Latvia, Estonia, like places like they had nuclear weapons. All of a sudden, they're like, take these back. We don't even know what to do with this stuff. Like, you know, and so you know, demilitarize themselves. Again, so with a fracture of Russia. Because it's the Russian Federation.
Yes.
So loosely what we would consider to be states.
Absolutely.
So they have, you know, and so this all breaks apart, and like all of a sudden it's like Virginia has nukes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be. But Greg, do you think China would financially prop Russia to sustain this war almost indefinitely to try and get rid of our defenses, dominance, so to speak? You know, we're kind of, they're bleeding us dry with ammunition and the HIMARS and things like that. I mean, we've given a lot. We've given a lot, and we don't produce that much stuff. I think you said it one time. We used like 13 years worth of javelins in the last year. 13 years worth of production. In the last year, it's gone. It took 13 years to make all those.
Yeah, but what were we even using it for? I mean, might as well let somebody else like shoot up, right? It's like when you go to
leave all that ammo laying around.
I mean, theoretically, we're not in a wartime economy now. So if we really wanted to, if it was like to the point where our weapons were so low that it was like, you know, detrimental to our security, we could kickstart like an enhanced economy where we would, you know, focus on just building those weapons within 2 years, you know. But yeah, I think that's a good point. China could definitely try to weaken us that way. I mean, it's in their interest to weaken us and to support Russia because, you know, they're not on our side. So, but at the same time, I think China, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think China really wants to get too involved in it because they're more like, I see China more as like a good businessman. You know, they're always looking at the bottom line.
Yeah.
And on one hand, they realize that they got to help Russia, but on the other hand, they're not going to go all in and weaken themselves in the process, you know? So I think there's a limit to what they would do to help Russia. I don't think they're going to commit troops. I don't think they're going to give them, you know, like massive amounts of aid. Another thing too is if Russia collapses because of the war, China could retake parts of Siberia because that used to be Chinese territory. There's a lot of ethnic Chinese people there, and there's also massive amounts of resources there. So it's like for China, it's actually China's in a good position now because Russia's you know, their bitch, and America in a way is their bitch too. So they can kind of pick and choose who they want to help, who they want to side with. They can either help Russia, they could do business with us, and they can kind of play both sides a little bit now, you know?
Could you highlight that one for me? Yeah, they definitely do. And we just saw that with them in Afghanistan, meeting with the Taliban, setting up oil deals over there. You know, they're going to be pillaging that country for all of the rare earth elements that they can get, all of the lithium, everything that they can get from them, they will. And the way they write their business deals is you're never going to be able to pay it back. So eventually we'll just own this.
Right.
They really planned for like the ultra long haul for their nation, 100-year plans and 50-year plans.
I think so.
And everybody, you know, war is a long drawn out process. You know, World War I lasted how long, Livingston, man?
For about 4 years, call it 5 years. Depending on,
yeah, I mean,
some of these world wars, it depends on
they're long and when your starting point was, you
right.
know. But they're drawn out things, and everybody expects, you know, I guess the only thing they had it to compare to was the U.S. invasion of Iraq, right?
Yeah,
when we just rolled to Baghdad in 3 days.
Yeah, Desert Storm stuff here. We're talking about the original.
Yeah, and everybody kind of compares war to that nowadays, and that's not what it is. They're long, drawn out conflicts over years and years and years, sometimes decades.
This is Eurasian, Eastern European warfare.
Yeah,
always known for its brutality, callousness, harshness. The conditions, the whole thing is just bad. Okay, like the Eastern Front stuff here. Like now you have like Russians versus Ukrainian. This war is bloody, ruthless,
absolutely,
without remorse, and fought with like hate.
Yeah.
Yep.
This isn't the football game that Western warfare is presented as.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, the thing too about Ukraine and Russia is they have a long history of not liking each other. Especially more so the Ukrainians, because they were always taken over by Russia or Poland or neighboring countries. So really just like since the fall of the USSR was like the first time that Ukraine actually had its own land, you know, because before that they were more like tribal. There were the Cossacks.
Subjects, vassals to Moscow.
Right, right. Either Moscow or Poland, one or the other. So there's a lot of animosity between Ukrainians and Russians, you know, and especially because of what's been going on the last 20 years. So it's more than just, you know, it's like a blood feud, you know, it's deep. It runs deep.
Let's see. We got one question in the chat here from Kirsty Garner. She wants to know, in light of this conversation, what are good but affordable radios to get for contact? I don't think you can beat a Baofeng radio for the money, man. They are like $25, $30. Buy 4 of them, and you know, keep batteries charged. Do not keep it on the charger, but keep the batteries charged. Check
Chinese are not to be trusted and can hack all technology, but definitely buy something called a Baofeng, because that doesn't sound suspect at all. That sounds perfectly legit. True.
And remember, kids, no comms are safe comms. Greg, what kind of radio do you run?
I have a few Baofangs like you guys have.
Yep.
I
And then
prefer his pronunciation.
my main radio is I have like for my bugging out, I have a Yaesu it's VX6R, so it's a waterproof ham radio.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that it's waterproof because if you're in like a true bug out situation, and it's raining or you jump in a river, you don't want your radio to get messed up. So, but Yaesus are really good. They're Japanese. I highly recommend them. That's pretty much it for now. That's all I got. I mean, I'd love to set up like a base station at some point and all that.
Yeah, same here.
But it's, for now, that's.
Yeah, when I get to a more permanent location, I'll erect the tower,
Greg, do you play video games at all?
I used to play them when I was younger. I still play them occasionally. Yeah, when I have time, sure.
Are you a student of Fallout at all?
I played one of them. I didn't finish the game though, but yes, it's about a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war, and it's in Russia, right?
The ones I've played, there are a couple of them actually. There's one that's in Washington D.C., Boston, Massachusetts, and the Mojave Desert. 3. But the one that struck me was that in one of the missions, it requires you to like go to a radio tower, hack into it, and broadcast a signal.
Yeah, I saw something about that somewhere. Some guy put up a video recently.
This dude we know actually did that, and
it started a whole movie series.
It rung bells for me because I was like, I did that in a video game once, but I was like, here's a guy.
he's doing it.
Here's a guy who's doing that in real life. Now, in your experience, was that like a thing that was possible to do?
What do you mean?
Amateur radio operator, could one, I guess, hijack, pirate like a tower and transmit from it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as they have, if they have a generator, usually, I mean, depending on the amateur radio tower and the club and everything, but they have like your local amateur radio club. They have like a president, and they're responsible for maintaining the tower. And I mean, it depends on the tower and how it's set up, but most of them have generators, diesel generators that can power it. It's just a matter of fueling it up. In the
Fallout world, everything is nuclear powered. It took a turn about 1950 where atomic energy took over everything. Even like their televisions and radios have like nuclear reactors in them. So 200 years later, after the apocalypse, kind of everything works except the vehicles.
They never nuclear powered the car.
So you have to walk everywhere. But if you've never played it before and you were ever interested in getting back into it, it's a sandbox style game. You can do whatever you want.
But they actually do teach a little bit
the whole
nuclear war survival.
The logo of the thing is the guy giving the thumbs up.
Makes you think.
He's judging how far away the nuclear blast is.
Oh, okay.
He looks like he's saying, yeah, everything's cool, man, but what he's really doing is sighting out the mushroom cloud.
Right.
Yeah. If it's bigger than your thumb, it's time to go, kids. But yeah, I think, there's some correlation there. People definitely learn some things from these games and almost foreshadowing, the way things are going.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Actually, if you ever played the original Modern Warfare series from like 10 years ago, there's like a bunch of levels in the game where you play in Ukraine. There's like a whole part in Ukraine, and then there's an invasion of America.
The steel yard and stuff like that, where the Duga 3, the Russian.
Yes, yeah. In Chernobyl, you fight against the Russian troops in Chernobyl, which is funny because that's what happened in the invasion of the, and then later on, the Russians invade America and they EMP us and all that. But it's like it is a lot of foreshadowing, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. I love the Dark Winter series, man. I absolutely love it. The drama that you build in it is incredible. And as we were saying, you've made it to the radio tower. Mm-hmm. I heard that you were trying to get a hold of me. You're trying to get a hold of me.
Yes.
So I'll have to be listening. We'll have to turn on the radio and see if we can pick up Greg. And maybe we'll find out how the dark winter is going here in the Hudson Valley. Maybe.
Depends on where they hit us. There's nuclear silos in upstate.
Oh yeah, big time.
We might get a little salt and pepper across the top.
You never know. You never know.
I heard something that in New York they had back in the day. I don't know if they still have them now, but I think back in the day I think New York had a bunch of the Atlas rockets, I believe.
Yeah, Plattsburgh Air Force Base.
They hit them in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, that's right.
There's all kinds of legend about abandoned silos in the Adirondacks where nobody would look for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they hide them on like regular pieces of property with
in plain sight.
just a house sitting on it.
They build a house, they put a farm, and they pay a guy to live there and just like keep up appearances.
Yep, it's incredible. So, it makes me wonder if we've ever been taken off of the targeting grid,
If it's Russia we're talking about, that's from like 1963 and ain't nothing changed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that does worry me.
Their war machine runs if it will start. You know what I mean?
It's true. They're having trouble kickstarting that thing. Maybe they got a little water in the diesel.
Yeah, they have to really fix this machine up. Like, oh boy, it's got leaks everywhere.
So what's new in the world of NY Prepper, buddy? How you been? How's everything going?
Everything's good. Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, the weather's been fantastic. Sure, you guys have great weather too.
Some winter. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little bit sad there's no snow, but on the other side, it's good because, you could do more stuff outside. And
absolutely.
So it's like a double-edged sword. I like the snow and stuff like that. But on the other side, if it covers everything and the roads are icy, you're kind of stuck. You can't do anything. But it's really it's kind of a blessing, I would say, especially with everything going on in the world. It's one less thing to worry about is, Arctic blasts and stuff,
Yeah.
They come out of nowhere, like all of a sudden, wow, okay. Like the weather is definitely different from what I remember as a child. And then I remember that I'm like old as shit. It's to be expected, but the world's not underwater. We're not underwater yet, but we're definitely heading for it. If the nukes don't do us in that vein, what do you suppose would it be? What's your plan B for like, we all gonna die Wednesday, all right? So
yeah, what is the next thing in line?
Yeah, doggone it, it wasn't the nukes, but what do you suppose?
My plan B in what sense? Like what do you mean?
All right, so it turns out it wasn't the Russians, it wasn't Ukraine, it wasn't World War that got us.
Yeah, what's the next major threat?
What horseman is gonna wash across us? What do you say?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I mean, if we're talking like external threats, I would say,
existential threats.
Yeah, existential threats. I would say something happening in the Middle East or Asia,
war. So war again. All right. So let me.
Yeah.
In the terms of the four horsemen, you got war, famine, death, and plague. Am I right?
I think so. Yeah.
If it isn't war, then which one?
Let's see.
Death kind of doesn't count. All right, death comes with all of them.
I'll play the death card. I'll say the sun
is a cop out. Death comes with all of them.
Yeah, but I'm going to say the sun has a giant hiccup, and we get hit with like a Carrington event times 10, and the grid collapses. There is your death horseman. He arrives on the back of the solar flare.
Then say EMP if that's what you mean.
Well, there you go.
CME, I believe.
Yeah, CME. That's right.
Proper pronouns.
CME with the EMP effect.
My pronouns are EMP, CME. Get it right.
But yeah, no, that would be my my choice is grid down, man.
You know what's really cool about what you just said is that I asked him.
Yeah, I know, but I figured it out too.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think now. I mean, we've already kind of had the plagues, right? So
that didn't do us in. Plague was weak.
Yeah.
Boo! Do better.
They could be recharging for another one, possibly.
War is taking forever. Okay, we just don't have time. We cannot afford this. Is there a fifth horseman? Is poverty a horseman? Because I think that's what's going to get us at this point.
Could be.
We're just going to exhaust all our resources into things that don't matter.
And all be broke.
And you know what, Livingston, man? You asked him. Let him answer the question.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, it's a tough one. I would say I don't see famine happening just yet, unless there's some freak situation like those locusts. You know, if there's like a weird locust swarm in
Grind them
Africa.
up and eat them.
That's true. You could, yeah.
I'm told, and I should trust the science.
I guess you could. I mean, yeah, you'd have to cook them or whatever. Yeah.
Plago Locust turns out to be good guy. Like, turns out Plague was the good guy the whole time.
Yeah, the locust saved us.
It leaves Famine, and he's right. What Famine? Now, how close? There was a lot of talk that Ukraine is some sort of bread basket.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. The wheat shipments are what is it? 40% of the world's wheat comes from Ukraine or something like that.
If
It's a
that's
lot,
true,
yeah.
are we seeing that? Are we experiencing that pain at the pump, so to speak?
Not yet, but I mean, if this war goes to the next level and they blockade the ports and all that again, then that would be a problem, obviously, for sure. And then that would be uncharted territory because we've never had that happen, so we don't know how bad it would be, obviously, right? I mean, but yeah, Ukraine has always been for the longest time, for like 1,000 years, Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, those countries, they're on the North European plain, they call it. It's just like between the Alps and like the Ural Mountains. It's just, if you look on the map, it's just flat, and the soil is just really fertile.
It's our Great Plains. If you're an American,
Right.
Great Plains, that's what he just described is.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So it's always been a food producing area, and also Russia has always wanted to take it, or the Western Europeans have always wanted to take it because it has such fertile soil, So.
Now it sounds like that again then is a European problem. Like if everybody's battling over like the farmland essentially.
Yeah, it almost seems that way. Like
It
they're all
always
fighting
has-
for the bread basket.
It's a black belt,
Right.
they would call this. This is like the really great soil, like
Yeah.
just miles and miles. In the Great Patriotic War, the German soldiers wrote home about crossing the border into this area and thinking that the earth went on forever. You could see the curve of it.
Yeah.
It's so flat, and it's our Great Plains. A strategic land form, but what gets forgotten, I suppose, then is the people that live there,
Yeah.
the people that believe in it, the people that are
Call it home. Yeah.
right. And instead,
absolutely.
it's being fought over for its resources, as you will notice that the world tends to do.
Yeah, everything's about the resources, everything.
And then you start to wonder what this whole real war is about on Putin's end. It's
Taking back that big bread basket, right?
this is the same place they collectivized farms and fed
Right.
an entire country from a single region.
Yeah.
Yep.
through
It's true, they did.
authoritarian measures.
They had the Holodomor. The Holodomor, you've probably heard of it, right?
That's the Ukrainian genocide. Is what happened there.
Yeah, that was when
Why they're
Stalin
pissed.
Stalin confiscated all the food from Ukraine, and there were like millions of Ukrainians that starved. He took all the grain from Ukraine and he brought it to Russia. And it was like a huge, millions. And if you look on the internet, people would you would go through like Ukrainian towns and there would literally be like skeletons walking down the street, just starving to death. It's really sad, but yeah, I think it's also obviously a geopolitical chess match for Putin. That's what it is. I think he sees this as a chess match against NATO. And he's not going to just sit by and let NATO, exert their influence on Ukraine. That would be a big defeat for him, for someone who's like a hardcore guy like him.
So do you think that perhaps the tank sales was enough for Putin to say it's time to start fighting this war more so against NATO than Ukraine?
I think it could, yes, because up until now, I mean, we've given them HIMARS and javelins, but actually, tanks is like that's like a huge step up. I mean, so yeah, I think it could bring the war to NATO. because let's be honest, I don't think it's going to end at tanks. I mean, it's tanks today. I mean, who knows in 6 months what we're going to give them, you know?
Yeah.
It could be some long-range cruise missile that they could hit inside of Russia 1,000 miles with, you know, that they can launch from their MiGs, you know? So who knows? I mean, but I think that that's going to absolutely, you know, infuriate Putin, you know, because that's just like, obviously it's going to piss him off, you know, and so
how could it not?
Yeah, I mean, we've already they've already proven to use
how
our weapons to go. Well, actually, it was their own weapons, wasn't it? It was Russian weapons, the old Russian Soviet drones that they lobbed back into Russia and hit the air base with.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. I'm pretty sure.
So,
yep.
At least when they're going long range, they're using their own stuff at this point. But
yes,
I think not in defense of Russia, but just to, I think, state the obvious, is that you cannot be neutral when you are clearly favoring one guy. But you can stand there and say, like, they cannot be a part of NATO. We respect the status quo, but then heavily arm this person, make it so they can't be defeated. That those two philosophies can't work. So this is clearly a proxy war of quote unquote West versus East here. This is Cold War stuff. This is Vietnam stuff, like where we're using a third party as a pawn while us and the Russians test our shit.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that to look out for is that I think at some point, like so far, we had this approach. The West, you know, they have this approach that we're only going to give Ukraine weapons that they're going to be able to use to defend themselves, you know, and the whole concept is defense. You know, we're not going to strike targets inside of Russia, but
hence the medium short range weaponry.
Exactly. Yes. And ground weapons more, you know, sure. Exactly. So
like overwhelming air power and all kinds of wicked cool stuff.
Yeah. Or missiles, cruise missiles, whatever. But I think as the war goes on, if there's like a huge mobilization and things are really getting tough, I think Biden and his generals, they're going to have to revisit, you know, that whole strategy, because you can't win a war just by, I mean, it's like tying one hand behind your back. If you cannot strike back, it's like if I got into a fight with you and you were punching me and all I was doing was just blocking you and bobbing and weaving, but I wasn't punching you back. It can go on like that forever. You know what I mean? Until you get tired, which is going to be a long time possibly. So, you know, our generals, they might have to sit down. Maybe it might be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, because we haven't really fully seen like a true, you know, declaration of war by Russia yet. And if there's 1 million troops pouring in with thousands and thousands of tanks, the generals, they might have to reconsider that and say, you know, we got to give Ukraine weapons that they can actually strike into Russia, target, you know, critical bases, target
bring the war back home.
Right. Yeah. You know, because you can't win a war like that. It's just not possible. And so at some point they're going to realize that economically it's not feasible to keep giving them only defensive weapons, which is just going to stall out the war more. They're going to want to finish the war. So to finish the war, you got to give them something they can actually strike back with. And then that's when, you know, things could possibly escalate, you know?
Okay.
I've seen that the Ukrainian gremlins have been striking deep inside of Russia. They tend to have a lot of problems recently with all kinds of things there. Railways being sabotaged, a lot of sabotage going on.
False flag propaganda.
Inside of Russia.
Yeah, in Belarus. Yeah.
A couple of questions. All right. So like you brought up like the idea of like just a fist fight, one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So like, and you're like, if I, you know, fought you, but all I could do is like block, I couldn't attack back. But what if like, not only it's not like, okay, so I punch, you block, and the third guy punches for you. But I'm for some reason not allowed to hit that guy.
Yeah, and
I have to keep towing this line, and I'm clearly at the disadvantage here because I'm fighting you, but you have this dude who throws your punches for you. And so that, I think, is Russia's opinion on the matter, is why they feel they're fighting the entire alliance.
Yeah, their
because
troops
they
literally
are
keep getting smacked in the face with the
by a
American
guy who's
HIMARS.
not fighting. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for American weapons, I mean, let's be honest, they would have lost the war already. Russia would have taken over. I mean, we sent them, I don't know, 5,000 javelins. Those javelins were critical for winning the initial part and protecting the capital. I mean, did you see all the videos of all the tanks?
Oh yeah, they shot down a lot of aircraft with those things.
Yeah, aircraft,
Stinger
missiles. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they're sitting back and they're like, pissed off that we're helping them out.
You have to wonder, like, how long as they want to.
How long are they going to play the game?
Right,
because that's the big thing. How long are they going to play the game?
Again, like the West is expecting this to be fought like some chivalrous game of polo, and the Russians are like, no, we're trying to win this war.
Yep.
When you have two completely different aims up against each other, like I don't think the West is ready for how the Russians are prepared to prosecute the entire thing.
Yeah,
it's a different mindset. It's totally the mindset of Russian leaders versus American leaders is totally opposite. Russian leaders, they're very like paranoid. They think that everyone's out to get them and everything is an existential threat. So they always have to retaliate in harsh ways. It's always been that way ever since, even during the Cold War, it was the same way. I mean, they were always very paranoid. I guess when you're a dictator, that's the way it is. You're afraid of, your people turning on you, the world turning on you. So that's just kind of like, if you study like the Cold War, that's just kind of the way they think.
So, is this simply Cold War II? Is this Cold War the sequel? Because I feel like it really is. Like, wow, the Russians are the bad guy again.
Yeah.
Eurasia was always the enemy. It was never East Asia.
Yeah.
What in terms of geopolitics, like, do you have any thoughts on how we ended up kind of back here? It seems as though we like backslid. We made like
I would say I don't think we backslid. I think the Cold War never truly ended. I think that was just a combination of a plan by the USSR to kind of, I think the collapse of the USSR was engineered by the Russians because they knew that they couldn't sustain the Cold War against America. So what they did was they put in like Gorbachev and these kind of like Western friendly leaders like Yeltsin, and they engineered this collapse on purpose to kind of distract away from Russia being the bad guy. And then the plan was to rebuild even stronger the next time and then just completely crush America. That's my opinion. And that comes from a KGB defector. His name is Anatoly Golitsyn. He wrote a book. It's called New Lies for Old. And he's a KGB defector from the Cold War era. And he said that was the Soviet plan, was to deceive America to think that, they won the Cold War and it's over and Russia's going to be a free country. And according to him, that was basically on purpose done that way. And that's why you have, like, if you look at the presidents over time during the Cold War, they got less and less hardcore. Like you had Stalin, then you had Khrushchev and Brezhnev, and over time they got less and less hardcore. Then you had Gorbachev, and then you had Yeltsin, and Yeltsin was like basically like pro. I mean, he was the guy who was like 100% against everything that Russia used to be. He liberalized the economy, everything, and then after Yeltsin, they put in Putin because they realized that, enough is enough. We got to put someone tough in there. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my theory. I don't think it really truly ended. I think just a short period of time after the quote unquote collapse. But then, once like late 90s, once Putin got into power, things just kind of started going back to the old way. It's just that, we weren't paying attention much. We were focused on the Middle East, with 9/11 and the sandbox. We had all our troops there, and all our focus was on the war on terror and Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. So while we were bogged down in the Middle East, Putin was quietly modernizing his nuclear forces, revamping all his nukes. building up Russia, getting Russia ready for this big showdown with America in the future. And I think, in my opinion, it's culminating in his mind, everything he's done for Russia the last 20 years. I mean, he's been in power since I think it was 1999. So over 20 years, he's actually been the longest serving Russian leader ever.
Yeah, well, he forms this. He has a tandemocracy with Medvedev there.
Medvedev.
Is that his name? Like Medvedev, whatever. I don't know how to. Let's not speak Russian.
Yeah, that
they,
means
they just
that
go
means
back
fair.
and forth with each
Yeah.
other. Like, they just switch every once in a while as it constitutionally allows.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, so I think in his mind, it's like everything's culminating at this point now. He's been working the last 20 years for this showdown, and also he's getting older. He just turned 70, last year. So if it's not now, then it's never, because, as you get older, you start to forget things, you don't have the stamina. So he wants to do it now while he's still healthy. That's my opinion. That has a big factor. If he was still like in his 50s or 60s, I don't think he would have gone in right away, because he would feel like, it's not really worth it. I'm going to lose a lot of troops. It's going to cause a problem. But now he's older and he feels like, okay, if I don't do this, if I don't confront NATO now, I don't know if my successor will have the guts to do it. And I don't know. So he feels like he's basically carrying the torch of the USSR,
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous mindset. It's dangerous because he's got that hardcore, Soviet mentality. If you read about his childhood, he grew up like really rough, and he joined the KGB when he was like 17. So
Holy
I mean,
cow. That's pretty
yeah.
young.
So, you got to be truly motivated to join a spy agency at that age,
Oh yeah, big time.
So
Big
so he really believed in it. It's not like he was forced to work in the KGB. He chose to do that, and he chose to do it at a young age. So that tells you a lot. And then he was also in the first directorate of the KGB. So the first directorate is that's like basically their most elite, part of the KGB. The first directorate did all the shady stuff,
Yeah, top of the line guys.
Top of the line guys. He also went to like a spy school for like several months that only like a few people get invited to. So he was legitimately a spy. People don't realize that, but he was legitimately a spy. He was in counterintelligence. He did all kinds of shady stuff. So, it just tells you his mindset. You know what I mean? So
Russia has been rattling the nuclear saber like crazy, right? And they keep waving this big shiny nuclear saber around. Do you think that they have a trick up their sleeve or something to back them aside from that nuclear deterrent? Because I really feel like waving that in your face, they actually have something over here that they don't want anybody else to really know about.
It could be. I'm not familiar with anything, but it could just.
It makes me wonder if they're not on another level with China or on another level with North Korea. I've heard rumors that they were getting weapons from North Korea.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, in the Korean War, the Russians helped North Korea, and American fighter pilots were fighting against Russian fighter pilots in Korea. So yeah, they have a strong alliance. I don't know. I'm not sure if they
existential threat I had to deal with.
You might get hit with a missile. You got to put that helmet on.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think honestly, I think I think maybe they feel like we're just not, I think they just think that we don't take them seriously. So they feel like if they do the nuclear saber rattling, we're just going to shrug it off like, oh, they can't be serious. But in reality, they are. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the trick up their sleeve, is that,
Learned all this out of Moscow. Elementary.
You're not telling me anything I don't know. I've been programmed since my awakening.
Awakening.
When I was first powered on to understand everything.
Powered on.
So the elephant in the room is: did Russia really shoot down an alien spacecraft the other day? That's the elephant in the room. That's what everybody wants to know the answer to.
That's a question.
Well, it was a question.
I missed that. I missed that.
Apparently they shot down unidentified flying object the other day over Russian airspace.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they're on heightened alert, so they've got, all the missile defense systems up, and it detected something, tracked it, and shot it down. And they claimed it to be a orb-like object that they have recovered, but I don't believe that there's been any more spoken about this.
How desperate you got to be like, by the way, we can't defeat the Ukrainians, but
we shot down a
UFO. Flying saucer. And
do you think they really did, or is this just total?
No, I think it's real. I mean, based on I read that it was multiple eyewitnesses. So yeah. I don't think it was like it wasn't reported by the state media. So I think it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Russia is so big, their airspace is huge. So you can bet that I'm sure they've probably either tracked UFOs, shot them down during the Cold War. I mean, think about the Cold War, how many radars they had back then. I mean, they had their radars and our radars too. We had the DEW line. We had like 3 radar lines in the US and Canada.
You don't see them coming. Yeah, for sure. They
would have seen like anything. So I'm sure that Russia has some kind of information on something. Maybe they have technology, but they're just not, they haven't re-engineered it, reverse engineered it. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I think everybody's biggest fear is that it's something that the United States government has that nobody else in the world has. That we've got little shiny balls that we just send out of the,
You can look.
They all come out of Area 51, man. That's where they make the little shiny balls.
The thing that makes America militarily different from almost all the other forces on the planet is our ability to produce aircraft that can do inexplicable things. And they don't tell you about them. They tell you about them 10 years later.
No, you get leaked.
I automatically assume that what most people call UFOs are, in fact, experimental military aircraft. We've never stopped doing this since we got into aeronautics, all the way back in the glory days of World War II, where we went from propeller-driven biplanes to like jet aircraft to stealth and everything else. I have a hard time pointing to aliens when it's so much easier to point to Lockheed Martin.
That's right. DARPA. They do some incredible stuff. Greg, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I really appreciate it. This is the first guest we've had on a We All Gonna Die Wednesday.
We All Gonna Die Wednesday.
Really?
That's right. About the veracity of that statement.
Wow.
We've never had a...
No, I don't think we've ever had a guest on We All
Wednesday.
Gonna Die
If we have not, then you are indeed the first.
The first.
Wow. Thank you.
So yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. I really do appreciate it. And we miss you here in the Hudson Valley, man. We really do. We lost a national treasure when we lost Greg.
Yeah, I miss it there too.
No, he didn't. He just ran over the border to freedom. I get it.
You have fireworks and like fucking.
Yeah, Greg is having all kinds of cool stuff when he crosses that
Bill of Rights
invisible line.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and we read not only did we read the Constitution, we understand it or are going to apply it.
Imagine that.
Not in New York.
But if you guys have not checked out NY Preppers channel, you absolutely have to. The Dark Winter series, phenomenal. His Ukraine updates, spot on. If something's coming down the pipe, he knows about it. So absolutely
He's
check out.
Deep in it if you want to really know what's going on.
That's
this
it.
Is the guy.
That's your man. He is our Ukraine correspondent.
If you followed the man himself here from his channel and found yourself watching him on our channel.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Smash that subscribe button, guys. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. because YouTube likes to mess with us.
Yeah, it means a lot.
And they absolutely will not send you a notification unless you select all. We don't upload all the time. So if you
I work
select
here
highlights,
and I don't even get the notification.
that's right. It's once in a blue moon. I didn't even get a notification for this stream tonight, and it's my stream. How about that?
You're like, we thought you knew.
Yep. Yep.
I did
Everybody
not
says
know.
Pennsylvania prepper. Nah, man. No. He's NY prepper to the heart. He will always be NY prepper in my book. And I think you keep it that way, buddy. No matter where you go, you're always going to be a New York prepper. So
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. You're born and
it's where your
raised.
heart is. It's where your heart
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah. So
awesome, man. We don't want to keep you all night. I know you're busy. You're cranking out the videos. I love the shooting videos, man. Absolutely
you.
do. It's
Thank
nice to see you let freedom ring in a place where you can do that.
Can I open?
you.
All right. So I made an entire video. It took an entire Saturday, I think it was, and a Sunday, pretty much.
Yeah.
But you went on that canned hunt where you just blasted that poor flock of spam. Now that you and I are, face to face, can we address it? I mean, it was all in good fun, and it was actually your video that inspired us to make the one that we made.
Yeah.
Any regrets? Comments, hindsight being what it is. I mean, would you have done it differently? Would you have done them spams a little less dirty?
I should have gave him a proper funeral, proper burial.
You kind of,
I kind of just
couldn't fault
tossed
your
him in the
attitude. You were like,
dumpster afterwards.
spam slayer. I mean, you went out there, you put
That's
bones in the dirt, man.
That's right. Well, when he caught the rumor that spam breeds communism, and you gotta wipe it off the face of the earth. I dig it, man. I dig it.
And I just hope that after my my educational video that you understand that the Goya are the actual invasive species.
Yes, I remember
And then
that.
the next time you're gonna pull out the 10 gauge 000 buckshot, pointing in the right direction is all
That's
I
right.
ask of you.
That's right. Right at the Goya. Right at the Goya.
I'll do that. I'll take care of some Goya.
It's cheaper and it's worth far less.
Witchy girl in the chat, absolutely watch the Dark Winter series. You have to. If you haven't caught up, you can binge watch it. It's phenomenal. He's got a whole playlist dedicated to it, so you can just hit play and get your popcorn out. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work in that, man. A lot of hard work in that. So we really do appreciate it, Greg. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up.
I can't imagine this guy's a one-man show. There's two of us.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
To try and do this by myself, I feel like it's huge, man. So mad love to the content creators.
Absolutely.
And mad love to the people who watch the stuff that we make.
Yes.
Because it means everything.
Yeah. It's all about the views. We do it for the views.
But Greg, mad
we
respect.
do it for views.
You're out here by yourself doing. You ain't got no Livingston man helping you out.
It's true.
He's still
It's
crushing
true.
it, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Greg. If you guys haven't, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out NY Prepper's channel. Best in the business. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Any final words, Greg?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just, stay ready.
Eulogize this live stream for me right now.
Yeah.
We're all going to die Wednesday.
That's right. We got to hear Greg's signature closing before we go. We got to hear it.
You want me to say we all going to die Wednesday?
No. We need prepare, practice, and persevere. That's
right.
what we need.
Got to prepare, practice, and persevere.
That's right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, folks.
See you guys.
Peace.